to give you two lines from two popular English songs, and after 10 seconds, let me know which one is correct. You and me could write a bad romance. It wasn't me. So what do you think? If you say that both are correct, you might want to think again. Actually, the first one is incorrect, and the second one is a little bit complicated because it can either be correct or incorrect depending on the situation. Join me in today's video, and in less than 15 minutes, we're going to talk about and relearn pronouns so that you can avoid one of the most common mistakes that English learners make when they speak and write in English. Hi everyone, my name is Teacher Chris and welcome back to Gravy English, your go-to channel for everything about better English. This is our third episode in the series, The Most Common Grammar Mistakes That English Learners Make. And if you haven't seen that playlist, I'm going to put a link over here and also down below in the comment box so you can take a look later after watching this video. And as previously mentioned, we're going to talk about pronouns today. Pronouns are the words that are used to replace the nouns in sentences, and they are simply used so we can avoid repeating the names of people, places, and things. There are many different kinds of pronouns, but today I'm just going to talk about the subject pronouns because they are the most basic, but interestingly, many non-native speakers and English learners still make a lot of mistakes with them. Subject pronouns are the pronouns I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. In my years of teaching English, it's very common to hear or see in writing sentences like this. Sharon is my colleague. He is my friend too. Now the rule in grammar says that your subject pronoun should agree with the gender of the word that you are replacing. So in this case, the sentence should be, Sharon is my colleague. She is my friend too. In case you want to know, it's actually very common for non-native speakers to make slips like this in a sentence, and that's because many languages only have one or two subject pronouns for singular nouns. English, on the other hand, has three subject pronouns for singular pronouns. He for male, she for female, and it for object or things. In Filipino language, for example, we only have one pronoun for English pronouns he or she, and it's siya. So it's very common to us, and we are used to using just one subject pronoun to refer to both male and female, and we tend to carry this habit when we speak in English as well, and this happens with other non-native speakers too. So the trick is to really be consciously aware when you are referring to any gender in writing or speaking. I sold some mangoes yesterday. It cost 100 peso a kilo. The grammar rule says the subject pronoun should agree with the number of the words that they are replacing. The word to be replaced here is mangoes, which is a plural noun. Therefore, we should use a pronoun in the plural form as well, which is they. And speaking of the pronoun it, we actually use this to refer to things, objects, and places. So, it's wrong to say, I love Philippines. She is a beautiful country. Well, historically, we use her because of the concept of motherhood, but that usage has actually fallen out of favor. So the sentence should be, I love Philippines. It is a beautiful country. But remember that he or she can actually be used when talking about animals, especially pet. See the sentence? I love my dog Spike. He is a white-haired mixed breed. In this case, it's okay to use he to take the place of the name of a dog, Spike, because I'm trying to express a more personal relationship with that animal and that there is some sort of emotional bond between us that I would like to impart to the listener or to the reader. Let's take a look at some more confusing sentences. It was I who wrote the love letter. Now, some people would say it should be it was me who wrote the love letter. But let's go back to the original sentence. It was I who wrote the love letter. This sentence is actually correct if we follow the traditional grammar rule, and especially in writing, this is technically right. The grammar rule actually says that the verb was should be followed by a pronoun in the predicate nominative. Sorry if I'm a bit technical here, but when I say predicate nominative, I'm talking about that word or those group of words that actually just renames the subject. Let me just illustrate that with this sentence. The teacher is Mrs. B. In this sentence, Mrs. B actually just renames the original subject, teacher or the teacher. Mrs. B and that phrase, the teacher, is of the same value, and it's like they both act as the subject of the verb is. So Mrs. B is actually in the predicate nominative case. So going back to the original sentence, it was I who wrote the love letter. In this sentence, the pronoun I simply renames the subject it, and they are of the same value, and the pronoun I also acts like the subject of the verb was. So because of that traditional rule, the original sentence is actually correct. But nowadays, it has become a widespread practice to use pronouns in the object case or object pronouns after the verbs is, are, was, or were. So in that case, it's common to hear people say it was me who wrote the love letter. But please remember that this case is only used in informal dialogues or in everyday conversations by native English speakers. So other examples include, this is her, that was him. Now let me just go back to the sentence, one of the sentences that I mentioned in the first video. It wasn't me. So I already mentioned it can either be right or wrong depending on the situation. And if you're using this in everyday conversation or dialogue, then it's acceptable. A similar concept applies to the sentence, she is smarter than her. Now, if we follow the traditional grammar rule, this is incorrect and should be, she is smarter than she. Because the rule says that than and as should be followed by a subject pronoun, and she is the subject pronoun. But nowadays, it's also acceptable to say she is smarter than her because all verbs should be followed by an object pronoun, and her is an object pronoun. But again, do so only in informal writing or dialogue, and never apply this rule when you are doing a formal letter or maybe a formal or academic paper. Now let's take a look at this sentence. Mary loves anime, loves K-pop too. This is a very common mistake, especially in writing, and probably it's because we got used to texting short messages. So never ever write a sentence without a subject. The sentence should be, she loves K-pop too. Do not ever omit the subjects in your sentences. The next sentence is, he and her are getting married next year. Now, some people would say it should be he and she should be getting married next year. This sentence may be confusing to you because you already have two pronouns in your subject. They are otherwise known as compound subject. Now, to avoid any problem with compound subject, I would like to share with you a trick, and that is simply remove the other subject and see if the sentence or the new sentence would make sense. So let's take a look here. From the original sentence, we say, he is getting married next year, which is correct. Her is getting married next year doesn't make sense. Let's try, she is getting married next year. That one is correct. Therefore, the right sentence for this one is, he and she are getting married next year. Let's go back to one of the two sentences that we had in the start of this video. You and me could write a bad romance. Now let's try to break this down into sentences with one subject. You could write a bad romance, makes sense. Me could write a bad romance, on the other hand, doesn't make sense. Now let's try using a subject pronoun. I could write a bad romance. Well, that one makes more sense. Then the right sentence should be, you and I could write a bad romance. Now let's get into the last sentence. I and my kid cleaned the room. Well, for the sake of politeness, we actually should mention ourselves last and mention other people or pronouns first. So politeness does extend even to the English language. So the sentence should be, my kid and I clean the room. So that's it, everyone. I hope you learned something helpful and useful today, and I hope you get to really apply and practice whatever you've learned, because ultimately you only get better in English if you practice a lot. And if you like this content, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. That will be a big help for this channel. And I'll see you next time.